All right, so today we're going to talk about a market structure shift. This is basically how you're going to get your entries. So, entries. And I'm going to explain it in the best way possible. I'm going to explain it where a kindergartner can comprehend, right? So, with this being said, yesterday I explained what an uptrend and downtrend was, even though you probably already know what it is. But to explain it again, uptrends is a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? Uptrends only consist of this. So uptrends only have higher highs and higher lows. Same way with a downtrend. Downtrend only has lower lows and lower highs. Anything that breaks these rules, that means that it is not a trend, right? So downtrend only lower lows, lower highs, right? Only that. So once again, anything that breaks this is not a trend. So with all this being said, we know what an uptrend is, we know what a downtrend is. This is going over entries. Okay, I see an uptrend. I can see that the uptrend is there. How do I get into it? I see the downtrend. How do I get into the downtrend? So the best way to do this is higher highs, or not higher highs. Well, actually, yeah, higher highs with ICC. So ICC, so indication, correction, continuation. You would use higher highs for uptrends. So let's type that. And then for downtrends, you would use lower lows for downtrends. Now, the reason why I'm saying this right now, because what I'm going to say next, please don't let it be confusing to you. So, the market structure shift that you're waiting for is going to be the opposite of what we see. So, if we're on an uptrend, right? If we're on an uptrend, normally I tell you guys, wait for that higher high to break, get that indication, get that correction, and wait for price to break back above that higher high again, right? But let's say in this scenario, price doesn't come to that level. I know a lot of people say they struggle with this and they see this a lot. So that's why I'm teaching you guys market shifting, market structure shift. So sometimes price might not come to that original breakout level. How do you get into this trade? So most people would say the question that I'm answering is, how do we know the correction is over? This is the question that I'm answering. A lot of people ask me this. This is the question that I'm going to answer today. So with a market structure shift, I normally tell you guys to always trade above the higher highs or even the lower highs, or lower lows in this scenario, lower lows. So what we're going to do is take a picture of this if you can, if you want. And matter of fact, I don't even need to do that. I can just go down here. So what we're doing is, instead of that, we're looking for price to finish and basically make that higher low that we're looking for. But this higher low is going to be made on, let's say, a 15-minute time frame or a 1-hour time frame, depending on what time frame you're on. If you're looking at the 4-hour, it's going to be probably on the 1-hour or 15-minute time frame. And what you're going to necessarily see is, let's say something like the 4-hour time frame is going up. I pretty much explained some of this yesterday, but today I'm getting more in depth into it. You're going to see price correct. And as you start to see price building back up on that 4-hour time frame, inside there's going to be a smaller downtrend here. Now, all of this is what is giving us details. When it comes to trading, you want the details of things. So on the 4-hour time frame, it might be one candle, two candles, a candle coming down, and then you start to see a green candle form. But you don't really have the details of something. So sometimes you have to scale down to a different time frame. Now, the thing is, yesterday I explained to you guys, when you have a high, price is normally making a higher low. One thing you will never see is you will never see structure until it's done. Right? You will never see structure until it's done. Like the structure has to be formed. So normally this is going to come from candles closing. That's why when it comes to marking up my charts, I always look at the body closes, because that's the most important part to me that I feel like is very important when it comes to market structure. And those are the things that I like to pay attention to, because that is what a structure closed, right? So with this being said, when it comes to the structure shift, looking at the 4-hour time frame, you can see that this is forming a higher low, but you don't really know yet. You don't really know if it's the higher low. Well, then you're probably like, well, then how do I know if it is making that higher low or not for the 4-hour? What do you do? This is a question that most people can answer right now. So if we can't see much on the 4-hour time frame, what should we do? Switch down to a different time frame so we can get what? More details. You need more details. What is going on? If we're on a 4-hour, we need to scale down, see what's going on in here. See what is the market providing us that we could use, right? So if we scale down to that 1-hour time frame, this red arrow is going to be the 1-hour time frame today. If we see that there's a downtrend starting on this 1-hour time frame, but then we start to see a higher high made on this 1-hour time frame, and then this higher low made, then we start to see that, maybe this is the structure shifting on the 1-hour. Now, if the structure is shifting on the 1-hour time frame, that means that it's going to bleed over into the 4-hour time frame, right? So let's think about it like this, right? Let's just say it like this. Whenever the 1-hour TF is building up or down, it can be up or down, it's going to bleed into the next higher TF. So for me, whenever something is on the 1-hour time frame, it's going to bleed over into the 4-hour time frame. Whenever the 4-hour time frame is having some type of structure, 4-hour is going to bleed into the daily time frame. And you could do this with the 15. So the 15 goes into the 30 goes into the 1-hour. Everything needs to align. Yesterday, my biggest rule for you guys is to make sure everything aligns, right? So with this being said, as we're trying to make sure everything aligns, we're keeping this in mind. Whenever the 1-hour is building up or down, it's going to bleed into the next higher time frame. So this 1-hour is building up a bullish trend. So this is going to bleed into the 4-hour trend. So with our knowledge already, we know the 4-hour already made a new high. And now it's creating that higher low. The 1-hour just confirmed that it's making a higher low because now it's going on an uptrend, right? So with all this being said, let me show you guys the example or the mistake that I made today and how you can not make the same mistake. So let's go back and let's unhide this and let's go here, right? So this is the mistake I made yesterday, actually. So as I'm looking at price, I was looking at price on the daily time frame. I seen that price was building up, and then it came here, made a low, made a lower high, and this red candle was coming down. I jumped the gun without looking at my other details, right? So I think I glanced at the 4-hour time frame and I seen that it had some lower highs. And that's all I gave thought to it. Now, the reason why this trade is not going to work out, or is currently not working out, is due to the fact that, one, out of session. That's already a big no-go, right? Big no-go, because you need the volume to tell you where price is going to go. Whenever you trade with no volume, price can do whatever it wants at whatever time it wants, and it doesn't have to abide by any rules. As you can see, at 9 p.m. there was a huge green red candle and there was no sellers in sight to stop it. Now, the reason why this trade is also wrong now is due to the fact that we have now a higher low, right? So now this is a higher low. This was a good push, price made a high, it pushed all the way down, created a higher low, and now we're pushing off of that higher low. Now, also, how can we tell that this is a higher low? Let's scale down. So if we scale down here, we can see this. Look at this. Price has a high, price has a lower high. Matter of fact, let's do it this way. Higher, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, equal low, which is still a lower high or lower low, lower high, lower low, right? Then equal high, higher low, boom. What happens? What did I tell you when it comes to uptrends, right? When it comes to uptrends and downtrends, remember, you're only going to get a lower low and a lower high and downtrends. You're only going to get that. So the moment it does something different, this is signs to show you price is changing the trend. So right here, we already can see that price is changing into a bullish trend. So we jumped the gun without waiting for that volume. As we can see here, sessions, we go here, turn this to this. We can see here, for this session, we bought all the way up. We got a little bit of London going on here too. So as you can see, London session pretty much bought up price on gold and created that new high for New York and London. So as you can see, the London session started right around here, which is right around the time that price ended up breaking that high. And now we have a new high, which is not something we want if we're trying to sell, right? Remember, everything has to align. Right now, price is not aligning. So with this being said, this is a perfect way to use a market structure shift to understand what the market and where the market is at in its current trend. So as I just showed you, we're in the beginning stages of a possible bullish trend due to the fact that we've created a low down here. Price came down into this area like it was interested in it, but it failed to do so because buyers pushed in and was like, nope, we're going to push price back up from here. Now, does this mean that this could go straight into a bullish trend? The possibilities are high, but there's definitely also another chance that price could just be creating another lower high and going down. But right now, that doesn't look like the case. We are not going to be delusional. We're just going to show, or we're going to see what the market is showing us. As we see here, price came down, created that low, came up, created a high. Now it made a higher low, which is signs of bullishness, right? So this is just to go to show you market shifts. I'll give you another example once again. So like I said, if we're on a downtrend, boom. If we're on a downtrend, inside that downtrend will be a downtrend here, and then an uptrend back here, boom, boom. And then we're looking for that market structure shift back on that same time frame. And we're going to change this color back to red. But we're looking for the market to shift back into the old trend. So the first trend that you see, so downtrend. We don't want the uptrend. So we don't want this. We don't want the correction. We want that downtrend. We want the continuations of it. But in order to see the continuation, we first have to find what we see on the higher time frame. So let's say this is the 4 hour, and then we have to scale down to the 1 hour. The 1 hour is going to give us the details we need to know when it is the right time. Because once again, if you're trading price, everything has to align. Remember that. Everything has to align. Everything. So 4 hour time frame, 1 hour time frame, 15-minute time frame. Right? Or if you're going to do it with the 15, just remember the 15 can sometimes be broken a lot. So if you really want the go-to, I would just use the 1 hour and 4 hour time frame. and then you can mix it up with a little bit of daily TF, so the daily time frame if you want. But that's really for swing traders, the daily time frame. So 4 hour, 1 hour, and also the volume. Remember, price isn't going to move how it should until session, right? So price is not going to move how you want it to move until price is in a session. So the sooner it gets to a session, the more volume you start to be put into the market, and the more price is going to start to move, right? So with all this being said, I hope market shift today kind of made sense to you, the best way that I can explain overall.